We all know it, we all love it. Minecraft's latest snapshot was a bit of a banger. And from a brand new weapon to new collectibles, there's so much to see here, including a mysterious, heavy item. Now, as it stands right now, the heavy core is simply a mere crafting item used to craft Minecraft's brand new awesome weapon. But is that really it? Sit back, relax, and get those research goggles on. Today we're going to take a look at the cold hard facts, some things that I've found, and then speculate a tiny bit too. This is going to be fun. When talking about the heavy core, truly, there's one spot that we could begin, and of course, that's going to be with the heavy core. When dropped on the ground, it's a different looking item. It's a little bit smaller than a full, solid, normal block. In fact, we kind of got it right over here. Ever since this big reveal earlier this week, and taking a look at this item, we kind of speculated maybe it's similar to a conduit, and sure enough, this item on ground is a lot closer to a conduit or a player head than a full, solid block. Now, when picked up and placed down on the ground, this thing, it doesn't really float like a conduit does. Instead, it sits perfectly on the ground, just like a mob head. When compared to a normal block, clearly, it's quite a bit smaller. In fact, going back to that mob head bit for a second, it is like literally exactly the same size as the mob head. The conduit is actually a little bit smaller than it. Aesthetically, though, there's absolutely no denying that this thing is very similar looking to the conduit, with like a little bit of a darker spot in the middle. It looks like it's like deep or something like that, as we can see from my perfect one-by-one exact model replica recreation. The block's got a little bit of depth to it. It's strange. However, unlike both the conduit and the player head, the heavy core item is a slow item to break. This takes a lot of time. And the initial snapshot, like when it dropped, I speculated, hey, it's heavy, it looks solid, it sounds solid. Brand new sounds and all, so I thought maybe, hey, a pickaxe, but actually, no. The heavy core has no item in the entire game to mine with. That means, no matter what, whether you're using, say, a pickaxe or your empty hand, this thing is going to take 45 seconds to break. It's slow. It takes a long time. And so that got me thinking, that can't be the way. There's no way this thing is just going to mine that slow when we can place it down. Like, oh yeah, that's really slow. One of the slower mine times out of everything in the game. Maybe we go ahead and get a little bit of firepower in the mix. Put some explosives inside of the heavy core. Maybe that's the fast way to mine this stuff. But no. And in fact, another small, weird thing that I noticed about this is, even though it's smaller than a solid block, if I were to, say, stand on the outside of this thing, well, I don't make it. So clearly, I didn't stand a chance there, but anything on the outside, blocks, whatever, they're not going to be exploded at all. The heavy core shelters and absorbs all explosive damage. However, this block is not invincible. I found not one, but two weaknesses for this block. I was thinking maybe with a piston, could we say move the block, but unfortunately, no, we cannot. And with a sticky piston, can we say, like, reach out and pull this block? No, unfortunately, there is no grabbing and retracting this block at all. Another fascinating weakness here that instantly breaks it is water. If you have a heavy core placed down and you want to, like, pick it back up, use water or a piston. 100%, that's the way to do it. Now, not that this does anything to a block ever, but throwing wind charges at a heavy core, and we'll find that it doesn't exist at all. The wind charge just goes clean through the heavy core, and it hits whatever's behind it. Doesn't exist. Another heavy core item, oh boy, it's rare. And when I say rare, I mean like rare. You're not going to be able to just walk into any old trial chamber structure and walk out of this thing piece of cake. For starters, inside of the trials that are chambered, if we check out like the random loot chests we'll find around this structure, well, unfortunately, the new best loot from the entire trial chambers is never going to be found inside of there. Instead, the move here is going to be battle your way through the trial chambers, get yourself a couple keys, and then use the key on a trial spawner, excuse me, sir, and hopefully get a little bit luckier than I got. Honey and a bow. Thanks. I know myself a thing or two about the trial chambers, though. I remember that inside of this room right here, we've got another shot. Let's just go ahead and open it, please. Please, more honey, you know, some arrows with the bow. Okay, and some ingots, another bow. Oh boy, my lucky day. Yeah, so of course it's Minecraft. We know how things work. It's a little bit like a chance thing. Maybe you get it on your first try, maybe you get it on your 50th try, but no matter what, you have a 2.2% chance to get yourself a heavy core from a vault inside of the chambers. That's not very common at all. In fact, with odds looking like that, statistically, that is going to make this thing one of the most rare things that you can get from the vault out of everything. Like Enchanted Golden Apple, from all of my testing, not a problem. I've been finding those more commonly than I'm finding Heavy Core. Maybe I'm just like terribly unlucky, but I still have yet to even find out if this thing is actually inside of the vault. Statistically, this thing is really unique. And mathematically, this thing is very, very rare. And, of course, there's a whole, like, a barrier to entry. Not only do you need to find the vault, but before that, you actually need to get your hands on some keys as well. And it makes this thing pretty valuable. Now, of course, the mace doing the whole, like, damage buildup thing, being able to one-shot a ton of things that maybe you shouldn't be able to one-shot, especially unenchanted. I guess it maybe almost makes it worth it. Very overpowered right now. Like, for example, the one that I keep seeing everyone and their literal grandmother talk about here is the Warden. You can fall from really, really far. And actually, it doesn't even have to be like 300 blocks. There's only like 170. The point here is you fall really, really far. You get close to the Warden and you go ahead and one-shot that buddy. Never mind how you actually do that in legitimate survival, though. It's weird, it's unique, and speaking of the Warden, there is something directly related to the Warden that is also really weird and really, really unique. So when I make a video, I say a lot of things, and sometimes a lot of those things end up getting cut out of the video for time, flow of the video, whatever. When I made the initial snapshot video, I actually talked about this, but I just ended up cutting out of the video because it didn't really do it enough justice. This is weird. In a world of media that actually made it out there, I think it was Potato Man over on Twitter, who I saw talk about it before anyone else. The Heavy Core reinforced Deep Slate. Tone-wise, I mean, it's a little bit similar, but the top thing, that top pattern, the whole square, I mean, that's like literally identical, and even more so, the top of reinforced Deep Slate, I mean, it literally lines up perfectly. That's exactly it. In the recent snapshot, Mojang went out of their way to add a brand new item that is a single-use item, and realistically, the top of this mace, it could have really been almost anything, even just a couple of iron ingots or even an iron block. So what else does the Heavy Core actually do? As we talked about earlier on, this is a crafting ingredient, but also a placeable crafting ingredient. Of course, excluding things like proper solid blocks or whatever, is this maybe the first placeable crafting ingredient? Like, for example, a blaze rod, you can't place it on. A breeze rod even? No, you can't place it. But this crafting ingredient, you can place it down. On the bottom of this crafting ingredient, by the way, is a small little hole. Even more intriguingly, this is actually technically a rotational block. When you place this down, it will fully rotate just like the crafter rotates. However, with the texture being the same, basically on every side, it's no difference. Now, Mojang is no stranger to single-use items. They add them into updates all the time, but it's just weird. Something about the Heavy Core, at least to me, it feels a little bit different. Even that name, Heavy Core. Like, what do you mean? So that brings us to the final segment of today's video. The Heavy Core, it's clearly very strange and unique. What in the world could the Heavy Core also do? To add to the Heavy Core's intrigue even more, it's also a stackable item, which means maybe if you're lucky enough, you go through your whole trial chamber and come out of the thing with not one, but like a couple Heavy Cores. Inside of the crafting table, of course, as it stands right now, we go ahead and make a mace. Maybe you could use the Heavy Core to make another type of weapon, or heck, even upgrade a weapon as well. Like, if we had a mace and we added another Heavy Core to the mace, maybe the whole falling distance thing, it gets doubled, because the mace is heavier. Another theory for this Heavy Core that I absolutely love is technical. So Minecraft 1.21, think back to when they debuted it, they called this a tinkering and combat update. Tinkering, right now we've got, I guess, the copper bulb, I guess the crafter. Yeah, those are two like pretty big things, but relative to the whole size of the update now, two technical things, that's it. That's, I don't know, it feels a little bit weird to me, not very much. Maybe the Heavy Core is some kind of a brand new technical thing as well. Like, we place it down and I don't know, if redstone is near it, something happens to the signal, like it's heavy, so it's like decreased, or maybe the other way around, just magically increased if it's near it too. I mean, there's no denying, taking a look at this thing, it almost looks like it could be something straight out of Create Mod or something like that. Like, it's very strange and definitely fits in with the machiney technical vibe. Could the Heavy Core also be used as some super powerful redstone thing, considering how rare it is? And of course, keep in mind that this is literally already a crafting ingredient, and maybe we could go ahead and use the Heavy Core in a different recipe to make a different tinkering thing. And again, with how rare this thing is, how valuable it is, whatever that thing is would be probably pretty powerful. Another amazing theory for the heavy core throws us back to the vote update, the April Fool's snapshot from last year. Remember, inside of the moon dimension, they were playing around with like jump heights and things like that. To me, a heavy core, it almost seems like some kind of gravity disruptor. Of course, realistically, the heavy core, it seems like it would maybe like, if you're close to it, you can't jump as much. It's heavy and it's a core after all. But for this example, maybe we go ahead and get near it, and the closer we are, the higher we can jump. After all that attribute technical stuff they added to the snapshot a while ago, I mean, this could all literally be done with commands in game now. Like, check this out. I just can't jump because the heavy core is so heavy, it's like pulling me in and stopping me from jumping. Or, of course, there is my favorite theory, the best and biggest theory of all. Why in the world does a heavy core not only seem like something from an ancient civilization that was very advanced, but why in the world, when you get up close to this thing, can you put that heavy core right on the reinforced deep slate and it lines up perfectly? It mines slow just like it. It's been years since this portal was added to the game with no use in sight, and it's just weird. Could the heavy core finally be the piece of the puzzle we've been missing to unlock the ancient city? If it was, so I feel like it might work as you bring a heavy core 2 or 3 over to the ancient city, go ahead and place them near or on some parts of the portal, and then all of a sudden the portal activates. Heck, maybe it's even just one heavy core. Climb up to the top of the thing, place it right on one of the reinforced deep lights, and voila, a big giant lit grand portal. So what do you think? The heavy core, this basically honorary everything series episode on this thing. What do you think this heavy core is going to be used for? More or not? If you're living on a rock and you missed this week's snapshot, oh boy, there's so much more. You gotta check it next. My patrons, Fire Dragon 19, Inverse MC, The Great Vegeta, Michael H, CK, Skelly Wampus, Gabriel Y, Andrew H, Austin V, Tanner B, and Bill W. Thank you all. Until next time, it's been me, your second favorite theorist. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye, everyone.